But we're going to start on Wednesday, December 21st, with the R+L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. Western Kentucky taking on South Alabama. South Alabama was a 4.5-point favorite here, over under sitting at 56. These are, a lot of interesting news with Western Kentucky. You had Austin Reed go into the portal. He's maybe going to go to Louisville, and then he got a good NIL deal, and he came back out of the portal. You would assume he starts here. They did lose one of their receivers. They lost two starting offensive linemen, their center and tackle, to the portal, and they're one of their best corners. Whereas South Alabama, I don't think, has lost anybody. If you look at South Alabama this year, they did win 5 one-possession games, but they lost by 1 at UCLA, and they lost to Troy 10-6. They easily could have won both those games. They would have been undefeated this year, but they did win a number of other close games. Western Kentucky, they've kind of faltered down the stretch a bit. And it's hard when you look at both of these teams played overall bottom 10 schedules. And, if you look at South Alabama, they kind of want to control the ball. Carter Bradley's their quarterback, the Toledo transfer. They really rely on a really good back in the Darius Webb. And Western Kentucky's all pass. Just pass, air raid. They're going to throw it as much as anybody. We'll see how much the offensive line injuries cost them. But I do think that their offensive numbers overall, a bit inflated. I mean, you play they put up 60 on Charlotte. What's up, Club Lit? They put up 73 on FIU early in the season when they were a mess. They played Hawaii early in the season when they were a mess. Austin Peay. The schedule overall wasn't easy. I mean, it wasn't difficult. The same can be said with South Alabama. I'm also curious just how, what is Austin Reed going into the portal, coming out, for preparation, and does that disrupt everything? It is worth noting that South Alabama has never won a bowl, and their head coach, I'm a big fan of, Kane Womack. This is his first bowl, South Alabama's first bowl overall since 2016. Western Kentucky, of course, went to a bowl last year under Tyson Helton and rolled. What do you see here?
Yeah, Kane Womack, a name you're going to need to know from the Power 5 level. But really, the South Alabama, all the success they've had, a lot of it falls on defensive coordinator Corey Batoon, a defense that's top 30 in almost every advanced analytical category. And then you mentioned Western Kentucky's pass happy now that Austin Reed is back out of the portal. That's great news for the Hilltoppers because they had nothing at quarterback. And you're right. What is the team dynamics from him going in? Him coming out? Did he go fishing and pull up nothing from the portal? Nobody wanted him. Who knows? Wide receiver David Davis has opted out after getting the second most targets on the team. And he is their leading wideout. And so that's going to be a big miss. Leading target wide receiver Malachi Corley's playing in a bowl after 123 targets this season. He's exclusively from the slot. So I expect Western Kentucky to be a little less potent from the outside, forcing them to hit a lot of crossers over the inside. And the issue for Austin Reed might be pass blocking here. He loses his center, Rusty Stats, his tackle, his blindside tackle, Gunnar Britton. They're both in the portal. Britton was moved from right tackle to blindside tackle week 7. And South Alabama is 27th in pass rush, but the most pressures and sacks on this defensive line comes from edge Jamie Sheriff, who's going to be lined up directly on the blindside tackle, is going to be a brand new person because it's not going to be Gunnar Britton.
And Stats was really good in pass protection too, and he obviously handles all of the calls and the coordination, so it's definitely could be an issue.
Yeah, and there's the defensive interior for South Alabama was good at applying pressure too. So that's going to be tough for Western Kentucky's offensive line. And this is an offense, because it's so pass happy, they sputter the closer that they get to the red zone. They're 85th in finishing drives. It's a specialty for South Alabama. They're 15th nationally in defensive finishing drives. They have a better strength of schedule by far. They have a better strength of record by far. So I trust their defense a lot here in this situation.
They also have no one as of now opt out, and you would think they're playing pretty close to home, never won a bowl game, so you think you would assume that the motivation is going to be there.
Yeah, and I sidebar here, Stuck. I kind of found out that I'm somehow gravitating towards first, second year coaches because they haven't been in bowls and they're so motivated to build the program. I am subliminally keep betting on these guys, but Carter Bradley is the quarterback for South Alabama here. He finished the season on a roll. 10 TDs, only 3 INTs over the last 3 games. They don't really have any kind of run game, and Western Kentucky is outside the top 100 in line yards of stuff rate. So the Jags, even though they don't establish the run, they can establish their run. And Western Kentucky is horrible on defense. I don't know how they got so bad under Tyson Helton when this was such a strong point before. Now they're 110th in tackling. South Alabama,
we have one other top corner too, and yeah, South Alabama's not great at run blocking, which is their problem. But Webb can break some. He's a pretty talented back.
Yeah. I think the only thing hindering me with this bet, which I love South Alabama, I was on the opener of 3.5. I would play them at 4.5. They're 129th in penalties, so they can shoot themselves in the foot. So I'm on South Alabama with Austin Reed in this game. I make it 3.5. So I would still play it at the number that it's at. If you don't have a wager on it, I kind of suspect that the Austin Reed news will catch some steam from maybe people that are just turning on bowl season. So I would kind of sit and wait till maybe the night before or a few hours before and take South Alabama.
Yeah, I like South Alabama as well. I think the Western Kentucky, I think that their offensive numbers are, like I said, inflated based on some of the competition they played early on. Their defense, which won't have one of their top corners who's in the portal, it's they forced 30 turnovers this year. So they had 30 takeaways, which I think was second in the nation. And South Alabama was pretty good at about taking care of the ball. So as long as they're not, the penalties are a bit of an issue, but I think the motivation, the location, and some of the players that Western Kentucky lost, throwing, Reed potentially just, he wasn't fully in while in the transfer portal. I think South Alabama also has a coaching advantage here. I like the Jaguars. I agree.